If you are the Browns, what is the determining factor relative to do I take Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders at number 2, a quarterback? How close to the top of the board do they have to be? Is it as simple as if it's a first-round grade, boy, you got to take them at 2?
For me, it's really if they are a top 10 level grade, kind of not this draft, but in general when I look at kind of my grading. If they're a top 10 level pick, that is a really, really good quarterback. Bo Nix last year is a great example of a quarterback who can come in and really perform and take a team to kind of a next level. And so if you think they're a top 10 level quarterback, I think you have to make that decision, unless, again, a Matthew Stafford, some kind of thing that we don't think is going to happen. The Browns need to establish what their future is going to look like, and the future is a quarterback.
When you look at that, what do you think happens at the quarterback position with the Browns? So, we've heard the names, Cousins, Stafford fringe, Derek Carr, Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, or another rookie.
I think if I had to guess right now, Kirk Cousins makes the most sense. He will come as a veteran minimum. Him getting a bigger contract in Cleveland doesn't actually make him any more money because the Atlanta Falcons would have offset to theirs. So he makes a lot of sense as kind of that starter next year. The other person to look at is Geno Smith. He put out something that was a little bit saying maybe he's leaving Seattle. I think they would have him a little bit higher, but can they afford him? And it's important to remember Jalen Milroe is someone that Tommy Rees had down at Alabama. Really talented, really hard worker, really smart football player. Has a lot of work to do as a quarterback, but if they have Kirk Cousins for 2 years, Jalen Milroe, late second, early second, somewhere in that range, or even early third, makes a lot of sense.
Well, and if you do go with the Jalen Milroe, you're banking that he has elite athletic skills. The question is, can you turn him into a quarterback that can play from the pocket?
Yeah, and that you're betting on that. You're worried about that, but that's where the veteran really is important. And we know of Kirk Cousins that he really is that elite level processor and understander of the game.
So their GM, Fontenot, came out yesterday and said, we're not trading, we're paying them $10 million on the roster bonus. You're laughing. I'm guessing you don't believe that any more than I do.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why an owner would say, yes, not only are we going to have a $40 million cap hit, but I'll spend another $10 million on a backup quarterback. They also kind of covered themselves and said, we didn't know anything about this injury Kirk Cousins talked about during the season because they can't get in trouble with the NFL.
When you look at that, they're going to have to take a cap hit if they do, in fact, release him. Does that come into play?
I mean, it's a $40 million cap hit, whether he is on their roster or he is a post-June 1st release. It's the $10 million that really stands out. An owner doesn't want to spend $10 million of his own money if it's not game-changing to the roster. And last year, Kirk Cousins in that offense, right? So a different offense than he was successful in Washington or in Minnesota. He wasn't very good. He's not worth the $10 million.
Well, and so just so everybody understands, they didn't run an offense that he's familiar with like Kevin Stefanski likely would.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why Cleveland has always made the most sense. An offense that makes sense. He doesn't need to get paid a lot of money. Some good weapons there that could be really good, and so there's just a lot of fit there and some comfort. He knows Kevin Stefanski, and so he knows he's got a straight shooter, someone that'll communicate. And for the Browns, it really could be that real bridge quarterback.
So Cousins makes sense. Which of the rookies do you think? And I know I'm asking you to read tea leaves and follow breadcrumbs at this juncture.
So something I shared on Dogs by Nature is I am surprised Cam Ward is high on their list. I think he's a really talented quarterback, but he's more in the line of a Deshaun Watson, where the good Deshaun Watson, where spread it out, take their time, watch, see, let things open up. Shedeur Sanders, I compared him yesterday to Greg Maddux, which is a throwback in baseball, but he is someone who is accurate, who's compact, who will do everything in time when he can, when he has an offensive line in front of him. I think Sanders fits far better for the Browns, which is where kind of that trade down would make some sense if he does fall, if the Raiders, if the Jets don't like him and they fall and they trade down with them or even a little bit lower. I think Sanders fits far better for the Browns than Cam Ward.
You do realize Browns fans were shrieking at the comparison to Deshaun Watson at that point.
Yeah. Schematically.
Do you think do they double dip? Do they go back and get a quarterback later in the draft? There's a number of guys that are intriguing.
There is. Everything I've been told is really there are two quarterbacks. There's what might happen with Jalen Milroe, and there is everybody else. I was told yesterday by two different evaluators that they would draft Riley Leonard fourth overall of all the quarterbacks because they know at least he can run the football and he has that skill. Jalen Milroe would be third in that case. So it'll be really interesting because a lot of people talk about Jackson Dart, all the different kind of guys, and most of those are really day 3 picks at this point.
All right, when you look at the Browns a season ago, 3 wins, I would say historically bad quarterback play was a major factor in that. And I'm not saying if they got average quarterback play, they'd have been a playoff team, but I do think they would have probably been 8, 9, 10, 11. It comes down to what does the defense do if you get adequate quarterback play?
It does, and I think what's really interesting is you look at video, it's easy to look back, but you look at video early in training camp, I don't know where the energy was. And I also think it's interesting the timing of Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski's extensions. I think they all kind of figured out Deshaun Watson didn't have it. The energy of the team was just really, really low. So not only do you have bad quarterback play, but you have a team that really wasn't believing in what was going on the offensive side of the ball, and that was really clear in some body language.
Well, and I think that's what adds up to 3 wins in a season, without question.